So I would love to take credit and say we're the reason my sister started running, but the real reason is the New York City Marathon. She started watching it about 2-3 years ago, and then she learned about the 9+1, and she learned that I don't need to fundraise $10,000 like the Boston Marathon. I can earn it by running 9 races and volunteering at one. And she did exactly that. She's running her first marathon with me November 2nd in New York City. Tell us about the 9+1 program and other programs you have.
Yes, 9+1 is really a huge part of the backbone of New York road runners and the New York City running community. You said it. If you run 9 of our races in a calendar year and volunteer at one of them, you are guaranteed entry into the following year's marathon. And so it really is a huge give back to New York City and to people who live in New York or nearby, because obviously you got to live in the area to run 9 races, for the most part. The reason it started, and it started over a decade ago, actually, a little known fact, the main reason that Roadrunners started it was because of the need for volunteers to run the races.
Oh.
So it was the +1 that was really the driver, actually, of that program, because the organization was having a hard time getting enough volunteers to staff these races and make sure that we could leave Central Park or wherever we were running, clean and in good shape. So it was really the need for volunteers that drove it. And that was brilliant, because now we've got, a huge core of volunteers at all of our races, and they help us leave the park or wherever we are kind of like just as spotless as we found it when we finish a race. And, volunteering is a huge part of the experience of being a New York Roadrunners member. But it's great because it gives people that opportunity to know they can run. It keeps us being really part of the fabric of New York City. And it's, incredibly affordable, Eric, to your point, when you compare it to raising money for a charity or something like that. And it also doesn't have to do with how fast you are. You can run those 9 races in any amount of time. It doesn't matter. So, it's a great program. And, it's something that it's a big part of how we operate. And, the downside of it is when there's as much demand as there is right now for running and races, it's become really hard, not just to get into the marathon, but to get into any of our races. Our races are all selling out, and sometimes within hours of going on sale, because people are trying to get this 9+1 credit. So one of the things I'm dealing with as CEO is, how do I create a system that allows people to get into races more equitably, and that also isn't putting so much emphasis on everybody getting in for 9+1, that, that casual runner who only wants to run 2 or 3 races a year has a way to do that. It isn't shut out by all the people trying to do 9+1. So it's something that we're looking at to try to keep this from being so driven by 9+1 that nobody else can run.
In a way, it's a good problem to have. Like, you got people signing up, your races are selling. I learned the hard way with the 5K that happens the day before. Like, it just happens so fast. So it's a good problem to have.
It's definitely a good problem to have, but as I say, good problems to have are still problems. So you still have to find a way to deal with them. Yes.